Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Nerd Haven podcast, where we discuss, dive into, and even debate our favorite things, whether that's video games, movies, shows, or technology, maybe sometimes. We'll likely talk about it at some point. But for now, we have been doing our MCU talk. So if you have tuned in, you know that this is movie number 8 now in the MCU. My name is M9 if you are not familiar, and with me I have John Aaron. John, how's it going today, buddy?
Hello, everyone. I wish I could tell you that this will be just a laid back, chill episode where we'll just relax and where I will have no angry rants and I won't complain about the smallest things imaginable. I'll try my best, but there might definitely be a few things to go over. I expect M9 to not have that many things to say about this movie, but I find it rather fascinating. And there are definitely a few topics that I would like to bring up and discuss, and I cannot wait to delve into it.
Yeah, I'm actually very curious about our standpoints on this movie because this movie isn't as fun when it comes to Iron Man. I think out of all of them, this one takes a very serious tonal shift. We start seeing a lot of personal dilemmas and, like anxiety and stuff with Tony Stark, which is very unlike his character that we've known so far. And the tone feels very different. So I'm curious to talk about this one, but Iron Man 3, I'll just say right off the bat, is not my favorite. Um, it's it's not horrible, but I think this was one of the movies that I actually kind of came out of slightly disappointed. Since then, it's changed a little bit because of how it ties into the rest of Tony Stark's. But thinking back at that experience of this movie theater was like, you know, that was fine. So, like, how did you feel finishing this one?
Iron Man 3 is a story of Tony Stark being a completely broken mess, like an anxiety ridden mind filled with doubts and fear, existential dread, darkness. And I love it. It's my favorite Iron Man movie.
Nice. As soon as you said, as soon as the idea of Tony Stark being like broken and a mess and actually now dealing with a lot of repercussions for the things that he's done or the things that he's gone through, I was like, John is really going to be into this movie.
It was such a breath of fresh air after Avengers, and I loved the tie-in, the connection to the end of the movie so much. As I implied during the Avengers episode, I was just so kind of excited to delve into this because this is for the very first time like an actual meaningful character development for Tony Stark in my eyes. He still makes his jokes, but for the first time ever, it feels like he's actually hiding like his pain, behind those jokes. Like he actually is a person, that is vulnerable. He is still, the man. He is still confident and stuff. But a lot of people still can be. Like, look at yourself whenever you play Marvel Rivals. Like, you constantly have high blood pressure.
Yeah.
Your heart is racing. You are freaking squirming. Within your own mortal shell, and you feel every single time you let your team down. And it's great. Like, I love people in such positions whenever they struggle, whenever they have to exert like enough conscious effort to overcome something and to battle against their own inner weakness. And this movie gave me everything I ever wanted from Tony Stark and his storyline. I do really enjoy this movie because not just because it gives me everything that I want to, but also because of how it's structured, how dark it is, how gritty it is, how at the very beginning we get to see freaking Mickey Rourke from the second Iron Man, and my hero Jensen, the true hero of the first movie. It's amazing, and just like in every Iron Man movie, Tony Stark, the shitty version of Tony Stark, the egotistical asshole, is the reason for all his troubles. And his past mistakes haunted him in this movie more than in any other movie.
First of all, I'm going to defend myself with Marvel Rivals. you said that I feel disappointed, that I disappoint my team every match. Rude. Sometimes I do pretty good.
Okay, I may have projected that a little bit. Maybe you should have felt that way.
But anyway, I completely agree. And this movie has a lot more meaning to me once I kind of completed the MCU and the whole ride and all of Tony Stark's story. It it means a lot more because this was kind of the first time that we see Tony actually being broken. We saw him dealing with internal conflict before, but it was internal conflict as far as decisions or internal conflict that relied on external issues. And this one was like to me it felt like the first time that he actually was dealing with himself and how everything was affecting him, how he didn't know if his or like almost if like his humanity could keep up with the things that he was doing. And um and I say that I didn't really enjoy this movie as much the first time because it was such a huge tonal shift from the Iron Man that I enjoyed in the first movie. But like it's not necessarily a bad thing, you know, like looking back at it, it's it's such an interesting point in Tony's story, and it changes him like moving forward.
It absolutely does. And I think that this not only changed him, but it also changed the entire course of like the Avengers, of the other MCU movies. It showed, at least for the next few movies that we will see in this phase, that maybe there is like room for a bit of darkness, for a bit of grit. And I don't think people quite responded well to it. I don't think not nearly enough people had the same reaction
Yeah.
as I did towards this. I think more people probably would consider this movie or some of the other upcoming movies in this phase as perhaps a bit of a letdown or a failure. But to me, this was the opposite. You know, this was wow, this is everything I ever wanted from this. I love this.
No, uh you're right. I think the majority of people, and it's the reason that I enjoy having these conversations with you, because I do fall into the casual, I mean the fanboy, aspect of the MCU. So for the majority of the time, I agree with the masses on what was successful or what was kind of boring or what was, because we all kind of think the same way. And the reason I really enjoy talking to you is because you do come at these from a completely different perspective. You get something completely different out of these movies that most of us fanboys do. And um and I agree, like thinking back at it, it's it's kind of crazy the emotional weight that this movie has. And you're right, like moving forward, I think a lot of movies weren't afraid to give a little bit of vulnerability to some of the characters, even more than we've seen up to this point.
Just made me relate, to the character much more. I can never relate to like a sexy playboy, that just changes women like he changes underwear, and that has like millions of dollars, and that like flies these freaking badass war machine robots. I can definitely relate though to a guy that is just broken down, that is a mess, that is doubting his own self and his abilities, even though he has a formidable set of skills. We actually get to see him like building all these robots to kind of help him overcome this freaking dread that he was confronted with in the Avengers movie. He almost feels kind of obliged to not just protect the world, himself, but his loved ones, basically everyone around him. And he basically gives up on him as a person, being able to do this. So he kind of hides in this robotic family of his little robots. And I think it's only fair. It's I'm not a psychologist, but I can only imagine that there is a deeper reason and a well crafted definition that would exactly describe, what is going on in his mind.
Yeah, for sure. When you see a lot of that PTSD that's happening with him, and all of these flashbacks and everything that's happening, it's like you're right. You can relate to this character so much more than you could ever before, um, because while I am kind of a genius, I'm kidding. I don't. There's nothing about Tony that I can really relate to except maybe some of his humor or something like that. But as a person, seeing him deal and seeing him deal and also seeing him not knowing how to deal with what's going through his head is the most relatable that this character is at this moment. I do think that he goes through a lot more development that we can relate to later on, but at this moment, I think this is the most relatable Tony Stark has ever been.
Definitely, definitely. And speaking of development, have you noticed that young Tony Stark kind of looks like old Johnny Depp in like one of those flashbacks moments
Yeah,
whenever he's like, back in the Switzerland?
yeah. I think
Old Johnny Depp looks like crap.
the de aging wasn't at its best at this point.
They should have just casted, old Johnny Depp to play young Tony Stark. That would have been so hilarious.
Yeah, yeah. So, how did you feel about the? I guess it's not B plot. It's like the villain story in here. Um, it wasn't my favorite, but you can tell by that story, it's also another one of those things that you mentioned, which is Tony's actions coming back to haunt him. Like, and which is something that we've discussed before, where Tony is his worst enemy. He's always making his own problems and his own villains. So how did you feel about it?
The plot was definitely simple, and one look at like the Gillian Aldrich guy, and you could clearly see, that he's gonna be the bad guy of the movie, and the fact that he got stood up, by him on an elevator, and then suddenly realized, yeah, I'm gonna have a teeth job, and I'm gonna go have like a physical therapy. I'm gonna turn from a nerd into a sexy guy who's gonna like smooch over, his girlfriend one day and have this revenge and hire Ben Kingsley to freaking be a badass actor in like these terrorist movies. It was a bit strange, a bit interesting, perhaps a bit unbelievable here and there, but I love Ben Kingsley. He's so great, and I'll get to what I want to say a bit later. So for now, all I'm gonna say is that I haven't actually, like from the very beginning, considered these guys to be like the main plot, the main bad guys, because there are two characters to me that are the biggest assholes in this movie, and it might surprise you. Well, if you've been here since the first episode, you will probably not be surprised about one of those people. So I will keep her for later. But for now, let's talk about Happy. Tony's driver. How
Mhm.
much of an absolute dick he is. Like, who the fuck like gets asked not to touch a plant and then he decides to just demolish it with his meaty fucking hands? What a dick! He's completely unlikable prick for the rest of the movie. Even when he's lying in the bed, like half dead, he has no business of doing anything important than like driving his empty car for Tony. Like he's completely incompetent asshole who just harasses people, and points out that they're not wearing a badge. And then he just kind of like sneaks up on people and tries to steal from them. Whenever he got exploded, no matter if it was the first time or the second time I was watching the movie, I was hoping he would die. Even though I knew that he
My
wouldn't die
God,
and that he would
yeah.
survive, I was wishing for his demise. And unfortunately, I was disappointed, but because he, will, of course, show up in other movies. Unfortunately, much to my dismay, but I absolutely hated him. I hate him. I hate everything about him. He makes this movie worse, and he is the Jar Jar Binks of Iron Man 3.
Yeah, I think unfortunately they never really know what to do with Happy. I think that they always kind of use him as a point of humor. There, he to me doesn't seem relevant most of the time that he shows up on screen, um, except for whatever the joke might be at that moment. Um, I do like John Favreau, and I mean as great of a director that he is and stuff like that, I I don't like I don't really love him in the MCU like at all. Like there were some movies and stuff that he was fine in, but he always seems like a throwaway character to me.
Yeah, he seems like a good actor that could absolutely pull off a cool role. And I kind of liked the idea of him, being portrayed this way, but then kind of dying. That would even further contribute to the severity of the situation, to the heaviness. It would give Tony even more of a reason to avenge him and to go, against the Mandarin guy who exploded his good friend, who just had a good heart, even though he was a kind of a dick. So I thought he should have died. And of course, him getting like slaughtered and badly hurt was enough at the very least, but they could have done more. They should have killed him.
Oh my god, that's dark. Somebody, please don't clip that. Um, there's a, I mean, he directed Iron Man, right? I'm not sure if you knew that, but
I
he,
didn't.
so he's kind of like, in a way, the father of the MCU. Like
The Stan Lee of Iron Man.
he got it started, um, and he's a very successful director, whether that's in Iron Man or in like Star Wars. But I don't know. There are moments that I really enjoy seeing him in later on, but in this movie, yeah, I didn't like some of his actions, and I didn't wish him harm either. But it was a bit meh to me.
Yeah, but it's not the worst character in the movie, unfortunately, because the absolute worst piece of shit in this movie is Pepper. Unfortunately,
What makes
she
you
is the
say that?
fucking she's the fucking worst. You know how women can make up their mind sometimes, whether they want like an overly attached, jealous boyfriend, or someone who just completely doesn't give a fuck and is just happy to be there, at all times. Some women, like Pepper, I feel like are basically want to have their cake and eat it too. And I'll give you a few examples of this very serious accusation, of course, that I have fully supported, by these examples. So what is it, Pepper? Do you want Tony, to pay attention and be worried or whenever you like smooching with other guys in your office, or do you want him to not give a fuck and like let you smooch all whatever guy is currently around in your office? Like, what's it gonna be? And what does Tony do, whenever she like starts freaking out because of this? Because he's, as her boyfriend, a slightly bit concerned that she's spending, this time with this freaking jerk. Tony admits that, very vulnerably, that he's in a really rough shape. He basically cries for help. And how does Pepper respond? With a snidey, sarcastic, sassy comment, "Oh wow, I didn't notice at all." Instead of like hugging him and providing emotional support in this time of need. The one moment where Tony finally admits, that he needs help, that, he's not okay. And she completely freaking destroys it by being a jerk, which is just so on brand for her. I hate her. And then, he basically says he loves her, he appreciates her being around, the fact that she moved in, the fact that she's keeping him company and giving him comfort, with her presence. And what is her response? "So I'm a distraction to you." So let me get this straight. Like, I was speechless watching this. I couldn't believe what I heard there. And what does she expect from him? Like, he just fought aliens in space and saved the planet. He builds these war machines to defend Earth with. But you would rather him treating you like a Disney princess on a date night, even though he's completely freaking out and he's just a human and he has just been through this incredibly scary experience, and you give him like sass and I hated it. I hated everything about it. And she eventually saves it, of course, invites him to the shower with her, and I was like, oh, that's kind of sweet. and she wakes him up from the nightmare, which I also thought was cool.
Yeah.
But then she freaks the fuck out and leaves, whenever one of his suits experiences a malfunction. Like, I'm sorry, Tony Stark isn't perfect, and sometimes, his suits can go a bit wonky, but like, that is easily forgettable, or like easily you can just apologize for it and move on. But no, she's like, no, I'm gonna leave
Okay,
you
John,
forever.
but she could have died.
Oh, she didn't. And everyone could have died if Iron Man didn't save the Earth, okay? A small price to pay.
That is a good point.
The freaking suit just grabbed your hand. Oh, now you're afraid. Just like 24 hours before, you were grabbed by a guy and smooched like on a cheek. You didn't feel threatened back then. You didn't call security. But now all of a sudden, when she was literally making out with the robot like a few hours before they went to bed, when it was the date night time. So why is she all of a sudden like terrified? I'm pretty sure that, the robot wouldn't be like programmed to hurt her in any way.
Well, I mean, okay, so here's the thing. I'm gonna step in real quick just because
Yes,
I,
defend her.
I want to
I dare you.
I just want to make a comparison because I am I have had family that has dealt with PTSD from the war and from being on different tours and stuff like that. And I have had a family that have dealt with um either almost hurting their spouse in their sleep because of their PTSD, and it is a scary thing because some people, and I'm not saying that this has happened to me directly or anybody that I know, but you could wake up choking your spouse. You could wake up um you know completely causing serious harm, and it's a very real thing and a very serious thing. So like at that point it's like we're dealing with trauma and post-traumatic stress, and her leaving was the best thing for her at that point because she didn't know what was possible and happening while she had no control over it.
I agree with that, and I thank you for this wonderful insight because I couldn't agree more. I wasn't aware that it can be this serious, the PTSD symptoms, especially like when it comes to relationships and stuff like that. But I could definitely see it happening. My only piece of feedback that I would offer is that he should have kicked her out, for her own good, and he should
I
have been
agree.
done with her. They could have still hung out, whenever it was daytime. They could have still, like take care of business in bed and then just go sleep in separate rooms. She could have locked herself in a vault and throw away the key. I wouldn't mind at all. And I think both of them would be better for it. I
I
totally
agree.
understand that Tony is a fucked up person right now. And even as like a superhero trope, you don't want to be overly attached to people and you don't want to have them around at all times, especially when your house can explode at any moment because, things can happen.
Yeah, I completely agree on that thought because of the fact that both of them there were doing things selfishly. He if he knew he wasn't doing okay or having these nightmares or dealing with PTSD, then he should have protected her by not having her there. And she should have known better, if she listened. And um the situation could have been better for both of them, whether it was supporting each other or keeping each other safe. It could have definitely been handled better. I agree with that.
Of course, we cannot blame her for not being a licensed therapist, right? She is not one. She never pretended to be
Right.
one. So we cannot really expect her to do the best possible thing for Tony at the time. But it didn't really feel like she even tried, and she was kind of way over her head there. And I know that I'm making fun of it, but I just, I can't dislike it.
No,
I also have
I
personal reasons as to why this bothers me because I was in similar situations before. I feel like
yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Pepper in this movie. I'm not. I don't think she was very likable. Um I don't think there were certain situations where you can tell that their relationship is blooming from what we knew before, and but even besides that, I kind of never felt like like she was in danger when it came, like in true danger when it came to like what happened later on. Um, the weight of the situation with Pepper for me felt kind of, I don't know, not realistic in a way.
Yeah, it was a bit strange, but once again, she is kind of one of those pain points for the Iron Man. She is one of those weaknesses, and it's kind of necessary for superhero movies like that to introduce, the damsel in distress for Tony to save eventually. It's an old trope. It's a bit tiresome at times, but hey, it works and it does what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, she was definitely a storytelling tool at this point. Like she was being used for what Tony had to do, or the part that he had to get to in his development. Um, she was like a stepping stone to get there, which I understand. Um,
Yeah, and just like with Happy, I was kind of hoping she would die during the bombing of his house.
yeah,
Sorry,
it's
but
okay.
yeah, what it is.
Um, so then how did you feel? Just to not get too far off of the off some of the other things that happened in this movie. How did you feel about Tony's interactions with the child?
Oh my goodness, that was probably my favorite part of the movie.
Yeah.
Uh, Even though I don't usually cheer for Tony in these movies, I do kind of enjoy him getting his comeuppance. I really felt like in this movie he was funny, he was a badass, and for example, the press conference, whenever he called out the terrorist, the Mandarin, uh, I felt like no matter what he said, they would have still arrived and they would have still bombed his house. But like the fact that he wasn't afraid and he said, "Hey, let's not involve Pentagon. This is my home address. Come at me with everything you got," and he was kind of ready for it, and it was so badass. And then he threw the phone and was like, "Bill me." It was genius, and of course, Pepper freaked out afterwards because of it. It's kind of amazing, but I and then whenever their house got bombed and where we ended up in like a wilderness in the snow, and like the tonal shift of the movie got suddenly like even freaking crazier, and then he meets the kid who obviously like wants to get adopted and like starts guilt tripping him, and so many amazing like exchanges between the two of them. I usually hate kids in movies like this. I especially hate teenagers in movies like this, which is a little bit of a foreshadowing for the future MCU movies. But I really enjoyed their chemistry, the way they interacted with together. Every single line between the two of them, I was just kind of giddy, and it was amazing. And the freaking limited edition watch joke never got old for me. I loved everything about it, and yeah, I love the kid, which is something I rarely ever say in movies like this, of course. Stoney was on point, like with his jokes and the overall stuff. How do you feel about that particular tonal shift and part of the movie?
Yeah, I completely agree. You know how I am with children. Um
Yes.
but I think that this kid did I feel like this kid did more for Tony's, persona than some of the other people that we've seen in Tony's lives. In Tony's life. This kid, I think he saw a bit of himself in as far as like ambition and um the fact that he was so broken down that it was not even like, like his house was torn to bits or whatever, and he was starting from kind of scratch mentally as well. It was represented in that scene by him just being like in this warehouse and not having all of his tools and not having all the things that he normally can work with. And um and then being with this kid and having those conversations, um and the kid kind of being, supportive is exactly what Tony needed at that moment. And
Mhm.
Tony never stopped being Tony with his quips and his comebacks and and um being rude to the kid. But I
Yeah.
think it
Your dad is
was
gone. No need to be a pussy about it.
but I think it was also like like a defense mechanism for Tony. Um, like he doesn't want to worry about this kid. You know, he doesn't want to care about the
He
kid at
doesn't want
all.
to get attached. Yeah,
Right.
he doesn't want to get attached at all, and it's great. And that makes the kid like want to get adopted by him even more. I totally get it,
Hmm.
and I kind of I just loved everything about it. How the relationship between them was kind of first page, and how it then developed. And yeah, it was great. I love this kind of sidekick.
Yeah, me too. It was pretty great. The and if I'm not mistaken, and anybody listening could please correct me. I think that this kid in the comics becomes Iron Man at some point. Um or
Okay.
like the character himself, I think there is a comic where he becomes Iron Man. I could
Well,
be
it's not really the hardest thing to become a superhero or an Iron Man in this universe, right? You just kind of stand in the
you
right
put
place
on
at the right time,
yeah,
and
you put on a suit.
suddenly a fucking suit just hugs you, and you're an Iron Man.
Right. Yeah, it's like I can't become Thor, but I could become Iron Man. Actually, I could probably
Actually,
become
you
Thor
can
too.
easily become Thor. Just get cancer, you know. Oh,
Foreshadowing.
sorry, this is too
Oh
soon.
boy. Oh goodness. Foreshadowing for a later discussion. Um
Mhm.
but yeah, no, I really enjoyed the kid. One thing that I didn't enjoy a whole lot is the Mandarin. I I wanted that character to not be an actor.
You
uh
wanted an actual Mandarin, an actual terrorist.
I wanted him to be what he was. You know, I wanted him to be fearful, to represent something that, you know, Tony had to take down. And then for that tonal shift to happen and it be kind of a joke, I was actually upset about it.
That's hilarious because let me read you what I wrote down after watching this movie. And I quote: I should have done this with Nordhaven. I should have hired someone to play this cool ass admin owner, and I should have just remained in the background. My life would have been so much better. I loved the decision by the bad guy to actually like put Ben Kingsley into this role, and I loved Ben Kingsley's performance. He's such a good actor.
Oh, he
I
is.
absolutely adore him in every movie he's ever in. I even remember his name, you know, and just his performance was amazing. He was so dark, and the freaking edgy terrorist movie was so on point, and it
But
was
that's the thing.
scary, you
I
know.
loved that. And then it they flipped it on its head. And I was like, "Oh, I am so upset right now that none of that was real." Um but like I get it too, right? Because it's beneficial for me to be doing shady shit in the background and having somebody else be the face. Um I understand. I was so upset.
That's amazing because I do absolutely understand that it's a strange decision, and I can definitely relate to your upsetness, but I don't know. I just kind of I liked it. It's a guilty pleasure, but I did enjoy it.
Hey, as long as you enjoyed it for one reason or another, and I think it did make sense for the story. Like I don't think it took me out of what they were trying to achieve. I think it just upset me because I was fooled, you know. Um, but other than that, it did. I think it did make sense for what they were trying to do. Let's
Definitely,
talk about.
definitely.
I want to talk about something that we haven't discussed yet, but I think it's something interesting to talk about now because it does change fairly soon. And what I want to talk about is Tony's suit up moments
Ah,
because we're going to get like later on and I'm going to be upset about a couple of things. But Iron Man 1, 2 and 3 have some amazing suit up moments.
yeah.
Do you have like a favorite suit up moment?
I never really thought about it that way, but I have definitely noticed that I do enjoy this part of every Iron Man movie, the slow kind of mechanical transformation, and they really, I don't know, designed it, created it well. I don't know if it's like completely digital or if it's just full on CGI, but it's really kind of satisfying seeing him transform, you know,
It
into the
is.
robot. And I also kind of like how it evolves with him, how in every single movie he makes it like a bit more sophisticated and a bit easier to like, switch from Tony into Iron Man. And
Right.
I probably know where you're going with this. Like eventually, he'll end up having like freaking nanites and he just presses a button and suddenly he's Iron Man.
Yeah,
And I presume that is your biggest gripe with this.
it is. Because I absolutely love the physical transformations and the physical suit ups. I loved the 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 fact that it gets easier as he goes, and I get the whole nanotechnology thing, right? Eventually, his tech becomes more advanced. I get that,
Mhm.
but Iron Man 1, the standing on the platform and the parts being put into place, it's so satisfying to see like everything just kind of clicking together. And then in Iron Man 2, where we see a lighter version of his suit that he can kind of take everywhere in that suitcase, and it just like he opens it up and it just kind of form fits to his body. So satisfying. and
Yeah,
and then in this one you have the pieces that come to him, which so cool.
indeed. Let me make an example. This will be a very old reference, and I apologize in advance for the youngsters in the chat and like in the viewing gallery. This is something from the ancient times. Back then, when we used to watch these things on television in like 6 to 7 a.m. in the morning, when we first woke up in like kindergarten or primary school or wherever you were back then. There once was this movie about a ragtag group of teenagers in high school that used to sport certain very bright colors, and they formed a team, and they used to be called Power Rangers. And
Yeah.
one of the best part about any of the Power Ranger episode that was on the television back then was the transformation, the morphin time, fucking Triceratops,
Yeah, yeah.
pterodactyl, and like the montage of them like transforming into these badass fucking robots. That was the best part. So if you kind of just pressed a button and there was no cool ass music and like fight poses and like them kind of transforming into these robots, then it would have been boring. It would have been kind of lame. It's like when video games kind of, start with these cool animations for characters, and it looks organic, it's fun, it's good for the RP. But then, like, grinders are like, this slows me down, this is boring, this is not optimal for my PvP experience. I want to immediately just transform into my fight pose and fight. That's basically what the Iron Man movies did. They just kind of optimized it, they made it faster, but something was lost in the process. And for us who kind of like the immersion of the Iron Man, who like the craft behind it, the weight, the meatiness of the transformation, I can understand that something,
Hmm.
of substance was lost.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I There was just so many cool moments. Like if you think about like the Michael Bay Transformers movies, right? That you've brought up before, the the transformations of Transformers were kind of epic, because you see the moving parts, you see how this could be possible. Um, and I think that that's one thing that I really enjoyed about the Iron Man transformations early on, because some of those pieces, it looks like somebody could make this, later on
Hmm.
you have to start suspending disbelief just a bit more and just a bit more on the next one and then just a bit more on the next one. So it's like, yeah, but yeah, I absolutely loved some of these suit up moments from early on, because like what you said with the Power Rangers, it's one of the best things, right? When you get that epic slowdown moment where like the hero is going into battle, and they got to get ready and stuff like that. I love that.
Yeah, yeah. I don't like it when the Iron Man suits, kind of become a part of him, where he can just carry them. with him at all times and just presses a button and he's immediately Iron Man. It's much cooler whenever he has to wait like a few minutes before the suit flies to
Hmm.
him, or whenever he has to have it like stashed somewhere convenient, or whenever someone has to like arrive with it to him. It's like, oh, finally, oh, good timing. Oh, you got here just in time to
Yeah,
save, Tony.
it introduces a bit more
It adds
danger and
absolutely.
vulnerability.
And yeah, that's what I like, about this character.
Hmm.
But it does make sense, unfortunately, as the technology develops to kind of overcome this weakness, and it's a shame.
Yeah. Have you ever heard? Now that we're in Iron Man 3, have you ever heard of the things online where people are like, Tony learns from every mistake and fixes it moving forward? Have you ever like seen any of those lists or videos?
I don't believe so.
So
Is it
there's
like a
this.
meme or is it like a serious thing?
It's kind of like it's kind of a serious thing. It's an observation, really, in the movies, which I wonder how much of it was done on purpose and how much was coincidence. But like, for example, when Tony first gets kidnapped, right? Later on, he adds a GPS to his suit. When he when the first suit was freezing, he then adds heating to his next suit. And
Right.
when he has issues because his suit was damaged, unable to like take it on and off, then he makes the suit into more pieces and can break. He can uh especially like the suitcase one, right? Like the briefcase one, he can easily take it on and off. And things like that. There's like this huge list along in the MCU of things that Tony experienced that later on he had a solution for, and it's so genius.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And now that you mention it, I can definitely see it. And it's very organically done in the movies, and you can definitely see how adaptable he is and how much he learns from his mistakes.
Yeah, I think there was another one, like for example, like the electric whips from the second movie. Then he made it so that he had a suit that absorbed lightning, and that's what happened with Thor's thing.
In the Avengers, right? He got recharged by his lightning.
Yeah, so it's like all that type of stuff um is so clever when you start thinking about all the things.
Yeah, definitely very cool.
But yeah, so I know you have some notes written down. I know you
Oh, yes,
have.
I do.
I want to get to more of the gripes that you had with this movie because you've talked, generally positive so far.
So it's funny that you mention it because right now I basically have only praises for when it comes to the rest of my
Yeah.
notes. My
Oh,
my only my only gripe left is technological giant Tony Stark, Mr. Innovator, and he still uses a fucking vinyl record player. Like, what the fuck? It's just, you don't have like an MP3 player, you don't have like Spotify and stuff. Like, what is the point of
he's a
that?
purist.
I hate wine. I hate purists and like vinyl enthusiasts, who like smoke their cigars and drink a glass of wine and like wear monocles, even though you can have like LASIK surgery and stuff. It's just so lame. The music
Yeah.
quality is horrible. I understand that you feel all cool inside, but it's like books. Like, why would you have 150 books, in your bookcase to just collect dust when you can have like one ebook reader? It's
Yeah.
just,
Like
I
I
get
have
it. I
about
get it.
500 DVDs or Blu-rays downstairs.
Oh, gross.
I
Throw it
don't
away.
watch any of them. I just
Yeah.
I just look for something online every single time.
Exactly. It's just the convenience, It
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yep.
My next gripe is my sister, who is currently drying her hair very loudly in the room behind me, but
Oh, I could
I'm gonna
barely hear
try.
it. You're fine.
Okay. War Machine Patriot, Iron Patriot,
Mhm.
can suck a dick. Both names are stupid, and he should feel bad for both of them.
Okay. Next.
And apparently, like a random fleet of attack helicopters can just enter the U.S. military space of Tony Stark's home without raising any suspicion. They can just bomb his entire house. Where the fuck is Shield? Where the fuck is the rest of the Avengers?
Yeah, this is when it starts, right? We talked about it. The after the team up movie, it's like it starts feeling like, where is everyone else? Every time something is happening, is where is everyone else?
Yeah. But that is pretty much me being done with the things that I found a bit objectionable about the movie. Let's talk about some of the how should I put it lightly? How should I put it in the most polite way possible? Let's talk about the hot chick that Tony fought in the winter part of the
Yeah,
movie.
literal hot
The
chick.
fake Homeland Security chick. When Tony called her hot wings, I couldn't agree more. She was smoking hot and so dangerous, and her crazy eyes. Oh, she was so hot. She literally undressed herself, like in the middle of the street in winter, because she couldn't take it. She was just so hot, and just she literally melted handcuffs. That's how hot she was.
Yeah.
Like, I was so in love.
You love you a damaged woman.
I do, and she was so broken
She
and
was
so hot.
so broken and hot.
Top 5 hottest ladies in the MCU universe for sure. And the whole scene with Tony and his lines, like, I've dated hotter chicks than you. No, you haven't, Tony. Like, I would have never said that if it was me in that position. It was a great joke, a great fight scene, but yeah, she was so hot.
Yeah, it was pretty great.
Indeed. And then it was just, like this few exchanges with the kid were just so great. Can you feel that? We're done here. So now you're just gonna leave me here like my dad? I'm cold. I know, kid. Do you know how I know? Because we're connected. The way he said it was just so sweet and amazing. I loved everything about it.
When he just drives up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so great. Their chemistry was just great.
Indeed. And apparently Ben Kingsley can just hack the entire television industry, to project his stupid recording. And he can also hack President's phone too, because why not? That's just whatever.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I think you will find interesting, by the time I finally had a chance to watch this movie for the first time, I've definitely noticed something that will become even more relevant in the future MCU movies. Jarvis is a great actor, or in this case, just a voice actor. But even as like his delivery of his lines is just so spot on, and I really like the sound of his voice and the way he plays that character. And I will be very much happy, vindicated in the later movies because he will become a bit more of a prominent figure in the shows, and I cannot wait for it because I really enjoy him as an actor, and he's great in that role.
Yeah, Jarvis was always great to listen to. I think a lot of the deliveries were like spot on, and who knows how they were really recorded. I don't know if it was actual feedback or just like freestyling, but they were so good. And yeah, he only becomes even better later on. The only problem that I had moving forward is that I actually end up missing Jarvis. And
yes,
when he's not the like official operating system of Tony Stark's head.
Indeed. All the other AIs that will eventually replace him, spoilers, will be kind of lame. Even though they're hot girls, it's not the same. Jarvis was just. One could say that I'm very motivated when it comes to like hot ladies and hot wings and just ladies that can literally melt iron from the cuffs. But I do actually. There are other things I appreciate, and this is one of them. Jarvis is my man. He's the best, and I can't wait to talk about him further whenever he becomes much more prominent in this movie extravaganza of MCU.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot to be said about Jarvis in the future, which yeah, we'll see. You have more on your list, or?
The rest of the movie is kind of pretty much, I would say, forgettable. The fire breathing was kind of cool. Apparently, all these people are just kind of dragons. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
But I thought that they should have perhaps done something more with this power. And I never really understood why Pepper would want to get rid of this, because if she was in possession of this power, she could have easily used this power to be safe around Tony and to protect him, to protect the world. They could have used this to inoculate like the planet to essentially become defended against any kind of threat. I could easily see Thanos just being melted away by 6 billion Earthlings, just aiming their fire breaths at his ship whenever it approaches to collect Infinity Stones from us.
Yeah, I feel like if somebody told me, like at the end of this movie, I don't think I would have gotten rid of all my suits. I, but
Yeah, that was stupid.
huh?
That was stupid.
Yeah, it's like I have all of these for a reason. Like it's like, and I'm just gonna end up making more anyway. So what the hell is the point?
Yeah, it was wasteful, stupid. But that fight scene with all the suits, I was kind of marking out. It was very cool.
It was
I
so
did
well
enjoy it.
choreographed. The way he like would jump from one to the other, and like the suits were helping each other out. It was so cool.
Indeed, all those like various suits, various proportions, and it was super done. Even when he like saved the people from the plane that was kind of falling, and when it suddenly turned out that he wasn't actually there in the suit, he was just like in like a random ship. Just
yeah, that was a really
so
cool
well
scene.
done.
Yeah, because it was like the first time we saw like a remote one, so it was really cool.
Indeed. And then we just get the Bruce Banner post-credit scene, which was also kind of cool. Their bromance from the Avengers movie was once again kind of portrayed here, and I did enjoy it. So yeah. Like, overall, definitely my favorite Iron Man movie, but I totally understand why this wouldn't be on anyone's rankings very high.
Well, speaking of rankings, what do we got?
You go first.
Okay. So I think for now, this movie actually, I think Iron Man is still in the basement. I mean, Incredible Hulk is still in the basement for me, but this is kind of on par with the Incredible Hulk for me, as far as like how much, how much fun I had up to this point. So for me, it's the Avengers at number 1, Iron Man at number 2, Doctor Strange, Thor, Captain America, the first Avenger, Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3, and then the Incredible Hulk.
Interesting. I'll go from my least favorite movie, which is still Iron Man 1. Then it's Iron Man 2. Then it's Avengers. Then it's Thor. And then it's Iron Man 3. Then Captain America, Doctor Strange, and Hulk. So yeah, I did really enjoy this movie. I don't think it was as good as Captain America. I did enjoy Captain America more, but I think that even though I liked Thor, I would still rather rewatch this one because I just found it more relatable. Because of the darkness of it, I did enjoy some of the jokes and cool scenes. And the hot chick definitely didn't hurt the movie either.
Yeah, it's always really interesting because like what you find rewatchable and what I find rewatchable are kind of different, right? Like for me, I would rather watch Thor because it's something that I could just throw on and have a little fun with. But for you, it's like if you're gonna spend time on it, you might as well be invested, right?
Oh yeah.
And I think that that's really cool, especially for some of the movies coming up, right? Some of which are meant to be more fun than others, and some which get pretty damn dark.
Definitely. And one of the dark ones is right ahead of us, the Thor Dark World.
Thor Dark World. Yeah, that's going to be another interesting conversation.
I kind of have a feeling it will go very similarly to the Iron Man 3 conversation.
Pretty similar. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think but yeah, that's going to be fun. So we'll probably I'm going to probably schedule this out for later in the week, maybe Thursday or Friday, so they're kind of spaced out. And next week we'll be back with some more, which will be the Thor the Dark World first. And yeah, continue our journey with the MCU.
Heck yeah, I can't wait.
Well, John, thank you for hanging out. It was at least shorter than our Avengers episode.
As we expected.
Yeah, as we expected. But thank you. It was a good conversation because this one was really interesting as far as like different perspectives, but I enjoyed it. So
I still think it's our second longest podcast.
It might be.
it's kind of strange, that we got to talk so much about this movie that Puto was kind of deemed to be, I don't know, uneventful, but still, I very much enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think whenever we have slightly difference of opinions, the conversations will probably tend to go a little longer. um
Yeah, probably.
and that's kind of great. I mean, I'm all for it. But is there anything that we missed that you want to bring up?
No, no, no. I'm all good. Thank you, sir, for as always being the wonderful host of this journey into the depths of MC universe. And I cannot wait to talk about Thor because that is the movie to kind of pitch it, where my favorite female character of probably the entire MC universe shows up, and I cannot wait to talk about her.
Oof, okay. What a cliffhanger. All right, guys. Thank you for hanging out. This was our 8th episode of our Nerd Haven podcast. Or we've been doing our MCU talk, but in the future, if you want to tune in to all of our different chats, once we get through the MCU, our topics are gonna vary quite a lot. So I'm excited to get to that point as well. But thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you, John, for being here, and we will see you all next time.
Bye bye.